Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Model A, not necessarily working on it. I wanted to go over some of the parts that I have been saving up for it over the few months that I've had the car. And I've actually had these parts since before then, just saving them for random projects that I'm going to have down the line and blah, blah, blah. So this will start us off here. You may have seen this in the last video, I'm not sure. This here is a small block Chevy 350. It is a 4-bolt main. When I found this engine, it had overheated. One of the piston rings looks like the gaps had touched and then it had broke the piston. But as far as I could tell, the cylinders on the engine look good. The ridge on it is not too bad at all, and it is a standard bore 350. So if it does need to be bored over, it can definitely be done. That's the engine that I have for the car right now. I don't really have anything else. I am thinking about putting this into my 63 C10, as that one has a 327. It does have pop-up pistons in it, but it is somewhat kind of a heavy truck, so I think the 327 just isn't making enough torque, whereas the 350, of course, you get that extra little bit of torque, still the same bore, but you get that extra little torque, and I really think that'll help move the truck a lot better. And I think I could build this engine maybe a little bit hotter than that 327. And then the 327 would go great along with this kind of hot rod thing over here. And with all that being said, that's gonna take us to the next part, which is the transmission. This is the transmission I have for the Model A. This is a Saginaw 4-speed. Funny story with this one, it was sitting in the backyard for years. I thought it was a 3-speed, and just the other day I picked it up out of the dirt. Take a look at it, and it's got the third lever on it, so that's a clear indication that it is a 4-speed. But unfortunately it was sitting outside like I said. It still turns. I haven't messed with the shift linkages or anything like that at all, but this is most likely the transmission we will end up using for the Model A. This one's probably going to have to be pulled apart, cleaned, and put back together, which I've never done a standard transmission, but I do have this in my 1955 Chevy and my 63 C10, so it would be good to get familiar with these things, as I'm sure I will end up breaking one in the future. And I do have a shifter for this. It is somewhere in the backyard. It's a Hurst shifter, just a regular old, nothing fancy. Probably gonna end up needing some not brackets, but the linkages, and of course the arms that come off of these levers here. So we're gonna need all that stuff, but I'm sure I have it. I'll just have to keep an eye out for it in all my junk. I have a couple of cars out there that I keep all my stuff in, so throughout the next few weeks and whatnot, I'll keep an eye out for all that stuff. But with the transmission being shown to you guys, and I do have a bell housing for this. I have a few of them actually, aluminum, and I also have a couple of cast iron ones that I can use. So bell housing really not going to be a problem. The flex or the flywheel, that may be a problem. I may need a flywheel. I might have one. Just depends. We'll probably end up needing a new clutch, pressure plate also. I might have one, but like I said, I have so much stuff it's hard to say. So now that I showed you guys the transmission, these are the fenders for the car. Sorry about the wind. But I have both the rear fenders for it. Of course, they're in pretty rough shape. Keeping my eyes out for any others that I can maybe find that'll actually be original. I prefer not to buy any. And these are the front fenders I have for it. I actually have two driver's side fenders and then the single passenger side fender. As you can see, this one's pretty crushed right here, and then it's got a big chunk taken out of it right there. And then I do have the, I guess that's a splash guard. I'm not sure exactly what you would call that, but I have that little thing that goes underneath the grill. I actually have a brand new grill shell for the car. This is the headlight bar, of course, as you guys know. I have these other fenders. As you can see, these ones are in pretty rough shape. These are 30-31 fenders, so you could definitely see this one's in a little bit better shape. You could definitely see the difference in the fenders, how much more round these are compared to these. Not sure which ones I'm going to use. These are the splash aprons. I have both of the splash aprons for the car. The other one's inside the shop. And then the hoods. I actually have 2 hoods, and then I have a third. This is also a 30-31 hood, and I actually have another one sitting over there in the junk. So that's pretty much all the body panels we need for the car. I've been collecting them over time. I also have this, past this tree. I also have this is the splash apron for the 30-31. They're a little bit smaller. As you can see, they're 2 pieces compared to the 28-29 with the single piece. So I have all the fenders and everything like that for the car. I do have a rear axle for it. It's out of an S10. Currently, it's sitting in a 57 Chevy, which of course, if any of you guys have 57 Tri-5 Chevys, you guys know an S10 rear end won't really fit in there. I'm not sure who put that in there, but it's sitting in there and it is a good S10 rear end. So my plan is to take that out and we'll use that for the Model A. And then of course you guys have seen the frame that's laying up against the wall here behind me. And a little bit of an update on the Ford too. I am fighting with the spindles on this thing. So I ended up having to do the different rotors that I have, which they're a different bolt pattern from the 4.5. So I'm gonna need some adapters, but I think they'll be fine. Just a good set of adapters on the front. Should be okay. And of course it's got the disc brakes and everything. I found a good master cylinder for it. The front brake lines are all plumbed up and everything. Just need to be bled. And the rear brake lines will of course have to be ran down the frame rail and then to the rear axle. Not sure if we're gonna use that rear axle because when I tipped the axle over when I was welding the perches on it, it actually, a bunch of water came out of it. So I really don't even know if it's gonna be any good. And I really think that we need a wider rear end. And then of course we'll probably need some cut to fit axles to get the bolt pattern that we need. Because right now, if you look at it, there's spacers on the rear end. Not spacers, but they're adapters actually. So they're taking it from the 5-on-5 Ford truck pattern to the 5-on-4.5 car pattern, which is okay for, you know, around here. But I think if we want to take this truck on any long trips, it'd probably be best to get wider rear axle because that's what it needs for the offset of rims that we have for it. So it's definitely going to need some work on the rear end. That's why I've been a bit hesitant to run the rear brake lines, as the rear end may be no good and then I'm going to end up having to cut those brake lines out or whatever. It just depends. So we're going to have to work on this thing some more. We'll get this out of the shop here pretty soon though. I don't think it's going to hold us up too much longer. And then of course we could get back onto the Model A. And I don't know if I showed you guys these, but these are the running board brackets, I guess. Yeah, running board brackets. These go to the frame. I have 3 of them. I'm pretty sure I have the 4th one, but I'm gonna have to double check on that. And I don't know if I showed you guys this either. I have the windshield and the frame, which is just laying there. But I actually found the original drip rail for the car. So of course this would have been, looks like this would have been nailed in first. So that would go somewhat like that. And then of course this piece would come on top of that and would go onto here. And you guys can see kind of how nicely that fits. I wish I could use it, but look at how bent out of shape it is. So I think we are going to end up sticking with the Nova drip rails on it, but I thought it was pretty neat that I actually still had the original drip rail for it. And I only found the driver's side. I didn't find the passenger side. And in this box, I actually, a friend of ours, he gave this to me. This is, get it out of here. This is the, this is the gauge panel for it. So if you guys know Model A's, this will come in here and that gets put on kind of like so. And I'll probably end up modifying this and put some newer gauges in it or something like that, because of course that fuel gauge isn't going to be functional, anything like that. So we'll probably end up modifying this a bit, but it is pretty neat that I was able to get this thanks to the guy that gave it to me. If any of you guys are wondering, that is the trunk lid that I have for the car. I do think this car was maybe in a minor wreck at one time, as this quarter panel is kind of not necessarily straight, maybe leaning over a little bit. And as you can see, the back pan here, well, I don't know what you would call that, roll pan, or I don't know. But as you can see, that's bent in pretty good. But I really don't think it's going to be that hard to straighten the quarter out. I do have a Porter Power, if any of you guys know what that is, kind of a hydraulic tool to bend panels back. I think we'll be able to pull this quarter back to where we need it. I actually think it's bent down here, so we'll have to pull this back in a little bit to make the trunk lid fit properly. And then of course you guys know that I have the other passenger side door for the car. So I pretty much have the complete car, as you guys can see. There's about 1 million small parts that I'm missing, like a crankshaft, pistons, rods, heads, the timing assembly, all that stuff. But like I said, I do have a bunch of parts saved up that I've been saving over the years, so hopefully those will come in handy. These are the window regulators I have for the car. There is 3 of them. I'm not exactly sure why there's 3 of them. Maybe the guy got an extra one because he maybe needed it. Like I said, the car came with 2 hoods. One was a 2829, the other one was a 3031. And then of course these are the, I guess these are the door handles technically, but they also kind of trim off the window. So I got all that stuff. And of course I have a bunch of the original parts for the car. Wow. Anyways, lost my train of thought there. The airplane was so close. But like I said, guys, I've been saving parts for years, so I should have almost everything I really need to build this thing. Of course, I'm probably gonna end up buying new pistons. Crankshaft, we're probably gonna have to either find one out of a fresh engine, or we'll have to get one of the old ones that I have. We'll have to get it polished, take it to the machine shop, get it resized, or whatever they got to do to it, and we'll get a crankshaft for it. I might have some heads for it. I do have a pair, but I believe they're from the 60s, and if any of you guys know, they don't have hardened valve seats. So if I end up using those heads, you know, it's probably gonna end up burning a valve out one of these days or whatever. So I have a lead on some different heads. They flow a little bit better than Vortec heads from what I know. I can't remember the exact company that they are, but it is still a cast iron head, but it is an aftermarket. Flows a little bit better than a Vortec head, so I may be able to get those. And if we get those, we'll most likely end up using those on this engine. And then, like I said, this engine may go in the C10. I would really like to get an LS engine for that thing, maybe a 5.3 or a 6 liter. But at the moment, you know, a 6 liter is kind of hard to find, or they're a bit pricey at the moment. So a 5.3 will probably be the way to go. But of course, that involves a wiring harness, computer. I'm gonna need a different flywheel, bunch of stuff like that. But if I'm able to use, if I did swap an LS in it, I'll be able to use all that stuff on the Model A. So that'll save us some money there. And it'll kind of get the truck where I want it to be. So we may go that route. Like I said, I have a bunch of different routes to go, but this car's most likely going to end up with a small block Chevy. At the moment, that's what it's looking like. As you guys can see, I already have one. So like I said, probably end up that way. And like I showed you guys, I have all the fenders, running boards, pretty much all the brackets, everything like that. And as for the glass, I have one, I believe it's a driver's side window. I don't have any of the other glass, but I do have a glass shop just down the road from me. I'll be happy to do the other windows, and then of course there's that airplane again. And then of course we'll be able to do the windshield. But like I said, guys, that's pretty much all the parts that I have for it at the moment, and I just wanted to give you guys an update. So that's where we're gonna call this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.